Welcome to G&T Sips and Giggles, where the cocktails are mixed with laughter and the stories are shaken, not stirred. Join the dynamic duo of Glenn and Tina for a delightful exploration of their own self-belief. In this episode, Glenn opens up about his journey of self-doubt and feeling like an imposter, while Tina shares how she found her voice in drag. This week's podcast has a few more serious sips and a little less gin giggles, as both hosts talk candidly about their exploration of personal identity, courage, and the beauty of embracing their very own stories. So, grab a drink, settle in, and get ready to look behind the curtain as Glenn and Tina embark on a journey of self-discovery on G&T Sips and Giggles.
Well, thank you for that introduction, Miss Legs. So good to be back with you this week.
You're more than welcome, Glenn, my darling.
How have you been?
I have been actually really, really good. You know, do you ever you wake up on a day and you think, right, I have a lot of things I need to get sorted out, and today is that day. Phone calls, emails, visits. Well, today I was chief cook, bottle washer upper, and I did the done.
You had a job?
No. Listen, watch it, Buster. I literally just thought, right, this, that, and the other needs done, and I done it all.
And do you have a profound sense of achievement that you've actually got something done today?
Yes.
I think that's it's nice that, isn't it? When you sort of have the dread of, I've got so much to do today.
I know.
And then when you get it done, you can sit down with your bestie, record a podcast, and sip on a wee gin.
I know. And the other thing is that sense of achievement, but I strive for that. Mm-hmm. I strive to go, right, box, tick, box, tick, box. And it's almost when you're getting and you're having like a really productive day, and there's always that one issue, that person you can't get through to, who doesn't answer the text, who doesn't answer the phone. Do you know what I mean? And you're like, you better ring or text or answer me back.
Were you messaging somebody from Gen Z?
Yeah.
Sorry, Gen Z. Only joking.
Yeah, we're only joking.
So the theme of today's podcast is Glenn's missing self-belief. The whole idea of this episode was when we were actually sitting down to plan out what we were going to talk about on the podcast, I did actually say to you, I genuinely feel like I have nothing to say. Like, I feel that people will be tuning in primarily to hear what you have to say rather than me. And of course, that came around where you were like, how very dare you?
Mm-hmm. I have to say that when you said that to me, I was completely blown away. I was astounded by that. And I thought, if this was a podcast just about Tina Leg's Tantrum, it would be boring. It really would. I'll tell you what I find so interesting about us too, because of your involvement in our community. Mm. But it's like, and my involvement in the community, you know, is exactly almost the same, but it's so different.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a good 15, 16 years older than you. And the things that I learn from you blow me away. Mm. When you said that to me,
yeah,
what could you bring to the table? I don't really think. I was looking at you and thinking, here's one of my best friends who absolutely stifles me, blows me away, has my jaw hitting the floor, can pick up a laptop, an iPad, and go, right, okay, I know what's wrong with this right now. So if you give me about 3 minutes and 27 seconds and order me 2 double pink gins and a couple of shots, I'll be with you. Okay, here we go. And those are the kind of things that I learned from you, but I never expected to hear you say it. And I actually think this is one of the most important topics. Mm. And first and foremost, can I say 2 things? Number one, I'm so proud of you for saying that to me, for trusting me. And number 2, so many people are going to be listening to this right now going, I've been in someone's company and they're so confident and they're my best friend, but I would never be able to turn to them and say to them, I don't really know if I'm as interesting, or I'm a bit self-dirty about myself. So that bravery all the way. I applaud you. I mean, I would jump on you right now, but we've got a podcast to do just to show you how much I love you.
But you know, it's funny because I think there's something that you said there, like that you can have confidence, but it's in different things, right? So I can talk quite confidently about the things that I know things about. So I'm quite confident in talking about technology and, you know, things that I'm well researched in. I don't know whether our listeners will know this, but I DJ sometimes, or I press buttons sometimes, and I find the most challenging thing about that is actually talking on the mic. I just find this, like, talking on stage is hard. Now, I would never be on stage, thankfully. I'm always in a DJ booth, but you've got 100 eyes, pairs of eyes staring back at you, and I really struggle to actually get the words out. And I don't know whether it's just because my mind is already trying to think of the next thing to say, or I just freeze. It's kind of weird, or just crap comes out.
Where you see, here's where our two beauties are, that where our playgrounds are this. We would be in the same show and I would look at you with your laptop, with your iPads, with your iPhone, with your iWatch.
Glenn 10 arms.
Glenn Octopussy, Marshall. And you have to introduce us and you do the running order. Whereas if you had to step on stage, I get where you're coming from. It would totally bamboozle you.
Yeah.
Whereas if you say to me there's 300 people out there, I am like, oh my God, give me the microphone, give me the microphone, give me the microphone. I can't wait.
Yeah.
So when you look at an iPad and or an iPhone and you go, right, thank you, I'll fix this in 2 seconds flat.
Yeah.
I walk into a room full of dockers and boxers and heavy metalers with a microphone in my hand and go, well, that's what's happening.
But you see, that's you're so talented that way. But I think it's funny, like, I have in my work life, my social work life, and what I mean by that is when I'm DJing, because I do have a 9 to 5 job. You know, I don't know. I often, people will tell me, particularly in the social aspect, whenever we're at a gig or something like that, and somebody will come up to me and go, "Thank you so much. We had the best time. Loved your tunes." You know, there literally is a part of me that's standing there scratching my head, going, "What is it that they're seeing that I'm missing?" Like, I don't know. There's the term that I tend to use, and it's a common term that people will have heard of. I feel almost like a sense of imposter syndrome. I find it bizarre that people are sort of going to me like, such a great time, and I just sort of go, I don't really feel like I've done very much. Like, do you ever get those sort of moments? And I do jest when I say, you know, like, when I'm joking about us being mere mortals, but do you ever have like situations where you're in, because you're extremely confident, and as you've already alluded to, you're quite happy to, you know, whip out a mic and talk and whatever it is, but do you ever find you're sort of like, people are going, "You're just amazing"? And I know that you sometimes will jest and go,
I know.
but do you ever get this moment, or have you ever had this moment, maybe you're beyond it, where you've sort of just stood there and scratched your head and went, I don't know why they're telling me that. I can't really see how they're telling me that.
What I always tended to do in the early days of drag was, I was fascinated when people used to say to me, "Oh my God, you were this. Oh my God, you were that." I was always very happy, always very positive. People were always throwing their arms around me. And as time went on, I always, with people would say, "Oh my God, see you, Tina, I swear to God, you were hilarious." And I will go, "Oh no." Or they'll say to me, "Oh my God, Tina, you look amazing." And I go, "I know." But I always follow it up with a big cheesy laugh, because they know I'm acting the maggot, you know, and I'll say to them, "Oh, I know." "What, he's joking." "Tell me more. Keep talking, you know. I embrace that now because it keeps that comedy alive, because people will know that that's my level of sarcasm. Don't want to be a person who stands there and goes, "Oh, thank you so much." I don't take that aspect of it too seriously. I'm there to work.
Yeah.
And I work hard and I embrace every audience exactly the same, you know. And you've set all this up. This is amazing because I would walk in here and I wouldn't even know what to plug in or switch on. And this to me is intimidating.
But that's funny. Isn't that really
Yeah.
bizarre? Because my feelings of inadequacy are the things that they're your strengths.
Yeah.
Whereas, as you've rightly pointed out at the top of the episode, like I get technology, and for me it comes second nature. And I think part of that is because of my 9 to 5 job.
Absolutely.
You know, where I sort of immerse myself in that kind of stuff. It's totally bizarre. On the idea of feeling inadequate, has there ever been a moment where you, the Tina Legs Tantrum, have ever lacked the confidence to do something? Like, have you ever sort of got to a show and went, I don't really know if I can do this?
Yes. Oh God, and I've been to a couple of places and I've thought, what am I doing here? Why am I here? And I have been nervous, intimidated, crazy, like letting the nerves take over, but never once walked away and thought, no, I don't want to do this. You know, I've went in and I've done my best, and 99.9 times out of 10 people are so happy and, you know, they're clapping and they're cheering and all this. But yeah, I have felt that fear. I still get nervous even now before any show. I still get that. And that's what keeps me going. So I do feel a little sense, I wouldn't say of intimidation, but it's those kind of right here go, oh my God, the adrenaline, the nerves. And, you know, and I now at a stage in my life where, you know, I'm working with the younger ones, all the baby queens, when we're doing the big cabaret shows, and I put it all in a wee ball inside my belly and then I keep it there. And I am nervous. You would never think it.
But you wouldn't.
No.
And like I mean, when I come backstage, you're super confident. You're getting ready. You're all having the banter, and you know, and you go out onto stage and you just nail it. Like you would never like. And I'm sure as somebody that sits in the audience, like I would never suspect that from you guys. So that's really interesting. Really, really interesting. For me, like I definitely have my moments. And I've learned to laugh at them now, which I never used to. Like, you know, if I make a balls up, for example, whenever I press the wrong track, and believe me, that I don't know how many times has that happened. When was the last time that happened at Christmas? Do you remember?
Yeah, I do actually. But that's the other beauty of cabaret, of entertainment in the hospitality sector. You know, those bumps, I call them wee bumps, turn into beautiful memories. Because there are times, not too often, when I go out on stage and I just I can feel tired. I have other things going on. But there's some kind of sort of weird button inside me. The microphone goes into my hand and boom, off I go. Verbal, 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 verbal. And there's times when I come off after doing a show and I go trotting up the road and I'll think to myself, where did that come from? Tina, what in the name of good God? You know, do you know what fascinates me as well? And even doing this stuff for over 30 years. And you've seen this. Do you know we're doing a show and the come up to you and say, hey, swear to God, brilliant, love that, swear to God, music's brilliant, do you want a wee drink? And you'll go, take a wee pint, like, thank you. Tina, what about yourself? No, I'm fine, I don't drink. And their faces hit the floor, don't they?
I mean, I've witnessed that once or twice.
Yeah.
Oh, sure, you'll take one. He'll have it instead, sure.
And I always give it to him, give it to Glenn. Are you sure you don't want one, Tina? Do you not drink? I'd be like, no, what? And I that's another part of it that I had to teach myself. Learn to say no. Because sometimes saying no is actually better, because I obviously, you know, you're getting older, you get a wee bit wiser. And I got fed up putting my money back in the tills, so I decided to put it back in the bank.
That makes sense, yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And when it's time to drink, then and I'm having a drink, and Tina's out having a drink, and you all become really frightened, and uh-oh, Tina's on the pink gin and
Did you ever
tonic.
did they ever give you like an alter? Do you know the way that Beyonce has Sasha Fierce?
Yeah.
And was there ever like a nickname that you were given for like when Tina is like on the lash?
Yeah.
What was it?
Legs,
Really?
Legs, So I'll tell you this funny story about me, and this is why I got the name Legsy. When I used to have a drink, and I used to be out and thought it was gorgeous and everything, 3 o'clock in the morning, and this was the smartest thing that any doorman could do, because I just wanted to drink and dance all night long, even though the place is over and the place is empty and out. And Kev would come up to me, Tina, you look lovely. And in my drunken state, I would go, what? Come on, I walk you out, love. And I'd go, all right, okay, thank you. And I'd be linking on.
Do you think he was trying to flirt with you?
Not necessarily, but it's better than saying to me, get out.
Oh,
because
confrontation.
Yeah,
I get
so
that.
I wouldn't go to him, excuse me, I work. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
And it was like, oh, thank you. And the reason why the legsy came from it, because them big heels, be like, well, take your wee shoes off, love, I'll help you out the door. Oh, all right then. Do you know what I mean? I had this handbag in one and two big clacky 8-inch stiletto heels in the other. Yeah. Big legs, eh? And you know, I was wobbly, a bit wobbly. And yeah, so that's why, and I don't do it no more. Don't bother. Haven't done it for quite some time. I do like a wee tipple now, don't get me wrong, but when the time is right, the time is right, my dear. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's the end of our first wee segment here on our Sips and Giggles. We're going to take a short break, but please join us very, very shortly. We'll be back soon. Thank you for listening. Love ya.
So, welcome back. Thank you for joining us. You're still talking to me, Glenn.
And me, Miss Tina Legs.
So, we were talking about, just before the break there, we're talking about, you know, self-belief just in general and imposter syndrome, which is something I often suffer from. But how did you really learn to like voice your true self as Tina? Where did that confidence come from? Was that just something that grew over time? Was it always there?
For me, I was always a very, very confident kid, you see. And then, as I was saying in a previous episode, you know, I didn't know I could dance until I went to a dance class. And that instilled a lot of confidence in me that I didn't know I had a talent, but I did. I didn't know what to do with it. There was no dance schools or anything. There was nothing going on until later on in my life. And how I was able to get past without having to talk in the microphone, because believe it or believe it not, here comes a bombshell. The first 2 years of my drag, I never spoke on the mic.
That's really bombshell sort of material.
Yeah.
Wow. 2 years?
And I wouldn't do it.
Why? What was the motive?
I'll tell you what I did do, where the confidence came from. I could perform to anything. My choreography has always been really good. I'm a very, very good, well-experienced dancer. Routine, I'll pick it up within 5 minutes. Comedy, no problem. But when it came to talking on the microphone, I completely and utterly was like, oh, I can't. And what happened one night in the Parliament, Trudy and I were doing a show, and this was way back in the day. So we had a ghetto blaster, and our music was on tape cassette, and they put a microphone to the ghetto blaster so it would come out through the speakers. And we halfway through our show, and the tape broke.
Oh, gosh.
So they were like, you need to finish the show. So I said, right, well, give me the microphone. So I took the microphone and I started telling jokes. Now, they were very rushed, but the reception of people, because we'd already got them half cooked and they were enjoying the cabaret. And I think it was one of the very first times I think I was in that situation and I had to make the most of it. But because the crowd had already been so supportive, it seemed like it was part of the show. And I told a couple of jokes and I told a couple of one-liners. And then Trudy and I done a wee bit of a sing-along. And it was the right time for me. If I hadn't have done it or made an excuse, it wouldn't have worked.
That's interesting. Well, we talked quite a lot outside of the podcast about drag today and this sort of idea of Drag Race, which has, and we'll probably will spend a lot of time talking about Drag Race, but like
you will. But
I know, but the idea of Drag Race has, in my opinion, and again, I'm not a drag queen, but I've seen what it was like pre-Drag Race to watch drag queens versus what it's like after Drag Race, now that we living in this Drag Race bubble. And I guess the one thing that's missing for me is that, and I've noticed a lot, that in my opinion drag has sort of been reduced to a lip sync. There's no talking on a microphone just as much. There's no that sort of comedy element. And that's not to say that drag queens aren't doing it. I just don't see that much. So it's an interesting take, isn't it? It's like if you're sort of thrust into that sort of scenario.
For me, it was a magical moment, and I didn't know that it was, because what it did for me, it taught me that there's another thing you can do. And
can I just say, you do it very well, by the way.
Oh, thank you so much.
You do it very well.
Now, it was really bad in the beginning. It was horrendous. And back in the day, before we had you can't say this and you can't say that, it was really dark. But there is no rule book about, doing stand-up comedy. Back then, obviously, there wasn't. And, but I just did it. And then I started to do bingo, and I got we stories together and we jokes together, the Tuesday night down in the Cube. And then it was, we done myself, Trudy and Portia, Gay Your Cards Right, which started downstairs in the Parliament. We had a bit of banter, we had a little bit of crack. It was just a bit, but it was a bit each, and from that we learned, that there was, to me personally, as you touched on that whole aspect of the whole RuPaul scenario, and I'm not against it, I just don't watch it.
Yeah.
One of the favourite queens I've ever come across in my life, two. Bianca Del Rio and Bob the Drag Queen. You know why? They talk. They really talk. And I think there's a lot of humour in standing watching someone, especially a drag queen, with a microphone in their hand, and they take their time with their audience and they wait for a response, and it can be absolutely anything, and I love that. I love pretty queens that want to get up and lip sync and backflips and splits as well. But for me, there was no joining of the dots and how to do your makeup and YouTube tutorials and all that. As I said before, nobody taught me. I started with, my icon was Lily Savage, God rest her. That was my icon.
But was there any advice that was sort of given to you over the years that sort of resonated with you? No.
Everybody, because I was the only really performing drag queen at that time, everything I did was okay.
Yeah.
And I was quite heavy set. I was quite happy as well. But at the same time, I just got on with it, and I made up my own routines and my own songs, and yeah. So let me ask you this, how do you cope with setbacks?
How do I cope with setbacks? That's an interesting one. I most of the time don't do very well with setbacks, if I'm honest. I don't like to fail. Take setbacks quite personally, and I don't know why. I was given a piece of advice a long time ago about control the controllables, and as much as I try to live by that advice, I still feel that the uncontrollables are my responsibility. And there's things that I don't know, I don't do very well with those sort of things, and it's
Let me ask you this: is it that sense of failure you don't like?
Yeah, I think that's exactly. I think like nobody wants to fail. Like nobody wants to fail, and I know that, and I don't set out to fail. Nobody sets out to fail. No. But yeah, I don't know. I feel just that I want to be good at everything that I set my mind to, and when that doesn't quite go to plan, I don't.
Would you be hard on yourself?
For sure, yeah. I tend to internalize quite a lot of that, but but I think the other thing which I should point out is that I'm getting better at realizing that as I've got older.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that.
But what about you? How do you cope with? Do you feel you cope with setbacks and failures?
Yeah, I don't care. I really don't give a toss. if I do something wrong and it's not the end of the world. Previously, I would have thought about it and thought about it and felt about it, and I would have been like, oh my god, oh my god. Now I'm like, all right, okay, whatever. I literally pick it up and I throw it over my shoulder, and if I get the opportunity to do it again, I'll make sure I get it right.
Yeah. I need a big spoon of whatever it is you've been eating with that, to be honest, for me, because I just, that's, yeah.
Yeah, honey, you
have
can
so
have
much,
as many spoonfuls as you like.
so much
You can be like
admiration
Mary
for that.
Poppins, spoonful of sugar, up the medicine, go
down.
down.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I mean, I mentioned there, like, over the years, I have got better at it. I've learned to be a bit more resilient with those sort of things. You know, listening to the likes of podcasts and things, and hearing other people's viewpoints. And it's actually knowing that there's other people out there that feel the same kind of way as well has been supportive. And it's definitely helped me understand myself a bit better. But I will be forever the perfectionist.
Yeah, I think
It needs to be perfect.
Yeah, it has to be perfect. Well, it doesn't have to be, but when you can get as close to as what you think is your perfect is good enough, you know what I mean? I mean, you're also completely and utterly so resilient because you keep on going until you get something.
Yeah, and you see that goes back to I never see that and I never think
See,
about
I know,
that.
I knew you were going to say that because you don't actually believe that.
Yeah.
You think that you're not as resilient as we know that you are.
Yeah.
Because there's times when there's so much stuff going on, and myself and the girls would be looking at you, and we'd go, "See that blow your mind away?" And they'd be like, "Tina, swear to Almighty God, that man's a genius." And I was all, "Well, try telling him that."
That's back to my imposter syndrome. You can tell me all that, and
And you don't believe it.
In my head, I'm just sort of I don't really feel like I'm doing anything, you know, extraordinary. I don't think, and that goes back to me having this idea of, you know, of perfectionist, or like setting unrealistic expectations for myself, where, you know, like I'm going to set myself a goal so high that I'm almost setting myself up for fail. I know maybe there's some sadist part of me. I don't know. I don't know. But yeah.
Well, if the wee sadist wants to come out to play, tell her, give him my address. This is what I've always said about you. Your best friend is your brain. Completely and utterly. I've never met anybody whose mind is like yours, whose brain ticks like yours. And it's infectious because you're always saying yes to everything. You always want to help. You're always very kind. You're always very, you know, very open. And to strive for perfection is a wonderful, wonderful thing. And 9 times out of 10, you're fine with what you can do for you. And I think personally, you know, it's the other 8-9% is for everybody else, and you're fixing things for them. Do you think that as time goes on, you'll probably be like, I need to just do this for me, so I can get perfection for me with the things that I have in front of me, the projects, the shows. Instead, do you understand what I mean? You've got so much going on sometimes.
Yeah, I think you've definitely got a point there. And I think I need to take a leaf out of your book and say no more often. I often feel that someone's asked me for help, I would find it hard to say no. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I definitely feel that I need to, I agree with your viewpoint that yes, I think I need to take some time. I need to take a step back sometimes and just do stuff for me.
I've always said there's on my fridge at home after the whole lockdown thing, and as you know, and I went through a bit of different stuff, and we'll talk about that in other podcast episodes. Before I went back to work, I wrote on, and it's still on my fridge door, don't be afraid to say no. You don't have to say yes to everything. And it's on my fridge door. And I see that every morning. I see that every afternoon. And I see that every evening. And sometimes I don't see it when it's there. But when I'm starting to feel a wee bit wobbly about lots of different things, and I go, hold on a minute, wait a minute. And I go back to my fridge and I go, there it is. Don't be afraid to say no. You don't have to say yes to everything. And then I'll go back to whatever this proposal is or whatever this, and I'll just go, look, no.
And to be honest, I'm proud of you for that, because I think we had a very long conversation
we
about
did.
about the power of saying no,
No.
especially you, because you were taking on so many roles and so many different gigs
Yeah.
and what have you. But I have to say, this has been a really interesting chat for me. So thank you.
You're
I
welcome.
really appreciate it. Appreciate
Anytime,
your time.
honey.
Okay, up next we've got Tina's tips.
Yeah.
Tina's tips.
It's okay to feel bad today, but when you wake up tomorrow, decide that it's going to be an amazing day. Then go out there and make it happen.
Tina's tips. My iconic tonic.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the next segment of our podcast, Sips and Giggles, where this is our iconic tonic. Where we talk about iconic things of the week.
Yes, I am super excited to hear who you have lined up for your iconic tonic this week, Miss Legs Tantrum.
Dun, 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 dun. The one and only Miss Dolly Parton.
Ah,
Miss
Dolly.
Yes,
wow. Okay.
that was the name of my first Jeep.
It was. I
Dolly,
remember that. I
little
remember
Dolly.
that too.
Yes. Do you know that Dolly Parton is one of the most biggest and supporters of the LGBTQIA community and been very vocal about it?
I did know that actually. I knew that she had done quite a lot for the community.
Absolutely. From day one. From day one. And do you know that she based herself on, I remember the story she told. She was on an American chat show. And when you look back at the sort of misogyny that she suffered because of the way she looked and some of the interviews, and I remember her being interviewed by this lady, and the lady was looking at her big wig and looking at her big boobs and looking at her big hair and basically telling her that she looked very, very cheap. And Dolly came back with this story. When she was a little girl and they all lived up in the Tennessee mountains and Mama took them all down into the town, and there was this lady of the night who hung around and had a reputation, and she wore a very short skirt and she had big massive blonde hair and big dark eyelashes, big red ruby lips and big red long nails. And Dolly Parton took one look at that lady and said, "She is gorgeous. I want to be her when I grow up." And when she said that back to the lady in that interview, I was mesmerized. I really, really was. I mean, she's just so. I mean, even every time when Dolly's being interviewed, she just makes you stop and sit down. You want to listen to her. I mean, she's been such an advocate for equality across the entire spectrum. You know, and do you know what I love about her? She's very smart.
Mm-hmm.
She stays way out of politics.
Mm-hmm. She does.
She takes nothing to do with it because she knows all of those idiots and what they're up to. Do you know? And some of her achievements. I mean, she's in her 70s now.
I know. And her philanthropic efforts as well. Like, she's big into charity and stuff as well, isn't she? Like, she's donated. I think I read somewhere that she donated like books and things to school, and she donated to like a whole bunch of like queer causes, and like she's pretty iconic.
I mean, her over the top, flamboyant, unapologetically gorgeous, like, but it's a real name. You see, you couldn't really call it a
character,
because it is Dolly Parton.
I get that.
And every time I've never seen a bad Dolly.
Yeah.
I've never seen a photograph of saying this is what Dolly looks like when she wakes up at 7 o'clock in the morning. You know what I mean? It's just always just looks so immaculate. And Dollywood.
Mm-hmm.
Dollywood. And
do you know, it's actually somewhere I'd like to visit.
Me too.
Just for fun fact, it's a theme park.
So it is. And everything.
And it has some of the best roller coasters in America there.
It really does. And another thing that she does is all the local colleges and universities for the children who come from homes with financial difficulties, let's just say. She pays for their books.
Yeah. She's a remarkable woman.
Absolutely.
So she is.
That is my iconic tonic.
Fabulous choice.
Thank you, darling.
Fabulous choice.
And what about yourself, Glenn?
Well, this week I'm going to throw a bit of a curveball.
Ooh.
I have went for the talented comedian, Catherine Ryan. So she's the Canadian comedian who is often gracing our TV screens. She is a gay ally icon, in my opinion, of course. Not only has she done so many stand-ups, specials on Netflix and all those, she's done numerous TV appearances, she's won comedy awards, she's done so many acting roles, she's got books out, she's got podcasts, the list is endless. And of course she's done charity work and all that good stuff as well. But like from an LGBTQIA standpoint, like she's a proper ally as well. She meets regularly to discuss LGBTQIA themes for comedy material, making sure that it's inclusive and that they're not just bashing the queers because that's the easy trope to go for. She stands and publicly speaks out against people who are just being a bit unpleasant about LGBTQIA issues.
Dicks.
Yeah, well, you said it. But even the representation in media, she's, again, like not only just in her comedy, but just anytime she's like on a chat show, or if she's on a show and there's some sort of weirdness around LGBTQIA, she'll make a point of calling it out. You know, she won't stand by and let that joke just fly. She will make a point of standing up. I don't know. She comes across as really authentic to me as well. You know, like she's a funny gal, but she's not just, as we say, pinkwashing, you know, just getting on the bandwagon because that's somebody that her PR person might have just sort of thrown out. But I don't know. Her continued advocacy as well is
Did you
awesome.
hear about it? Did you know about her love story?
I think I remember this, yeah.
Her childhood sweetheart,
Yeah.
who she was in high school with, and they were supposed to go to the prom, and they kind of broke up. And then many years later, she went to go to see her sister, and she was in a bar.
Yeah.
And she was looking really rough. She had been on a real long haul flight. They were going for a few drinks, and she walked into this bar, and lo and behold, who was stood there? Her childhood sweetheart.
Yeah.
And he's gorgeous, like.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
she's pretty hot as well,
she
to be
is.
fair.
Oh, she's beautiful. She is lovely, and all super intelligent. Super. Isn't it funny that the most of the it's, I never understood this. You'll know what I mean by this, Glenn. You know the saying, it takes a very wise man to play the fool.
Okay. I'm not sure I fully understand that saying.
See,
to
I
be
never
honest.
understood what that meant, right? But here's my take on it. That people like Catherine Ryan would know exactly how funny she is and can be funnier. So she would be clever with her level of comedic comedy.
Mm-hmm.
And she can afford to stand by the LGBTQIA community, you know, without fear of being cancelled. The same as Dolly Parton. You know, she'll wave the flag for us. She, you know, she's all about equality. You know, and
Okay, I get what you mean.
you understand
by that.
what I mean?
I understand what you mean.
She
So
can be a fool. She can be a very good fool. She can be a clown. She can be
yes,
all of those things.
Okay, that makes perfect sense now that you've explained it. Yeah, so
Yeah.
she understands the complexity of the
Yeah.
issues. She's somebody that will quite happily make people laugh, but will be equally as serious when needed, and not just rely on
Yeah.
the cheap joke or the cheap gag. I totally
That's
get
it.
it. That's such a great phrase, actually. Yeah. So anyway, that was my iconic tonic.
Yay!
Sip and share.
Okay, so some of our listeners have written in. Thank you so much for those people that have took the time to send us a WhatsApp. Some people have sent us emails. Some people have hit us up on Instagram. Thank you so much for doing that.
Yeah, thanks, folks. Really appreciate it.
And of course, if you want to write a question or get in touch, you'll find all of the information in the description of this episode. So, Legsy, this is actually a question for you.
Oh.
This one comes from Ashley Scott PT.
Oh, no.
Ashley Scott PT hit us up on WhatsApp, and he asked, what is the big girl's take on the journey down the years with food and gym? And as a follow-up question, he's asked, will the sausage roll sandwiches ever return?
I am gonna swing for Bob's. I have a pet name for Mr. Scott, and I always refer to him, hiya Bobs. As I've said before in previous podcasts about the whole curvy, large, persona that I used to carry, I've always had a kind of a wall built up. I'm very particular about people who I let get inside my head and my heart. And Ashley would be one of those people who I knew he knew me before I knew him. And that's very rare. It's a very rare quality. So and I like it when someone really gets me and understands me and is able to tell me something about me before I explain it. And I'll go, oh my goodness, you know me already. And he does. So the food and the mental balance of finding they all say it's 80% food, it's 20% exercise. And it's true. So you can find a nice balance. Find it, grab it, hold on to it, because you will live longer, healthier and happier. See if you don't and you don't care, good. That's fine. The sausage roll sandwiches. Gonna swing for him. So lockdown came, right? And we were all locked away March, April, May. We started to open up, right? So by this stage, I think I'd put on about 2 stone. And you only allowed to exercise outside. So we went up to Ballysillan playing fields, and we had to adhere to social distancing rules and regulations. And I had actually gained about 1.5 stone to 2 stone, just like a lot of people had put on a few pounds. So I thought, right, okay, it's okay, brilliant. We're all going back. So I was late this one sunny Sunday morning, and I turned up and everybody was there, and I was wearing this big massive Blues t-shirt, but I didn't know there had been a big stain of brown sauce right in the middle of my t-shirt. And when I arrived, and Ashley was, where were you? And I went, I was in the house and I didn't realise. And he went, what were you doing? And I said, I was having breakfast. And he went to me, and he looked at my t-shirt and went, what on earth were you eating for your breakfast? And I looked at him and I went, actually, in the co-op you can get those bags of 6 mini sausage rolls. And I bought a plain loaf, and I took the 2 heels and I put the 6 mini sausage rolls in between the 2 heels, half a bottle of brown sauce, half a pound of golden cow butter, and I mangled it, and it dripped right down the front of my t-shirt. And because I realised, oh my word, I need to be up in the Ballysillan playing fields, and everybody just looked at me and went, are you being serious? And I was like, yeah, it was lovely. I literally, I think it's a memory that's stuck in his head, because I was so happy that I was eating all the wrong stuff. And I'll tell you better still, sausage roll in a big Belfast bap, sliced right in the middle, 1/2, the big roundy half, hard, but 2 hot sausage rolls in the middle. I used to get the best big Belfast baps in Mackerlane's Bakery on the Springfield Road, and the sausage rolls were like hot water bottles, once seen the size in. Swear not, but a wonder I ended up half a size as I did. And we used to whack it in half, and half a pound of, well, we didn't get golden cow. We had a margarine called Corona, but it tasted so much like butter, and it was cheap. So, and we used to like a big whack at it, and 2 sausage rolls in the middle of that. And it was this massive, massive luxury, gorgeous, really bad for your health snack. And it took me back. And when I was going up that day, I thought, it's like being back at school. We were all going up there playing fields, and everybody we were doing runs, and we were doing like chases, and but the fun we had. But when he said to me that day, and what were you eating? And I said, 6 wee mini sausage rolls, 2 heels of a plain loaf, half a pound of butter. And he just looked at me with a mixture of disgust, delight, and shock.
I'm sure. As your PT.
Yeah. And he was like, and I walked away that day. And then when we started coming back to normality and things, and I still continued, I was wrong, I continued to eat very naughtily. And then when I got to August, I was like, I'm not in a very good place in my body.
So we're going to cover your weight loss journey
at a different stage
in another episode,
another podcast,
but I think we'll definitely touch on Ashley a bit more in coming episodes.
But if ever you're feeling down, or you're really annoyed, or you're just off, Go and get six mini sausage rolls. Get a plain loaf, nutty crust if you can, and get the two heels from the top and the bottom, and just fill your face. But don't tell your PT.
Thank you so much, Ashley, for your questions.
Cheers, Babs.
And that is the end of another episode of G&T Pod. Don't forget, we'll be back in a fortnight with more tales from me, Glenn.
And me, Miss Tina Legs.
Thank you.
Thank you, bye.
Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at G&T Pod. Also, thank you to those people that took the time to write in a question. If you would like to write in a question or send us a voice note, you'll find the details in the description of this episode. And of course, if we haven't already asked enough of you, please subscribe and leave a review. But be kind. Much love, G&T.